Orbital Station Tethys smelled like 17 different kinds of anxiety, all of them expensive. Commander Rebecca Voss had been aboard for 3 hours and had already catalogued the fear radiating from every delegation. The Corini kept their gills fluttering nervously. The Thren clicked their mandibles in continuous staccato bursts. Even the karate massive crystalline beings who allegedly experienced time non-linearly seemed agitated. The reason was simple. The Voidtorn were coming, and nobody knew how to stop them. Voss leaned against the back wall of the amphitheater-style war room, arms crossed, watching General Krell of the Vraxian Empire gesticulate with 4 of his 6 arms. Vraxians were what happened when evolution decided reptiles needed to be larger, angrier, and equipped with enough limbs to multitask their way into galactic domination. Krell was a particularly imposing specimen, scales like burnished copper, 3 eyes arranged in a perfect triangle, and a voice that could probably shatter hull plating if he committed to it. "This is why," Krell hissed, his translator rendering the words into clipped galactic standard. "We must prioritize enhanced species for frontline combat roles. Reaction time is everything. The Voidtorn move faster than standard biological processing can accommodate." A Thren diplomat raised one spindly limb. "General, the human delegation has combat experience with asymmetric threats." Perhaps. Krell's laugh sounded like grinding machinery. "With all respect to our new allies, their biology is practically archaic." Krell's 3 eyes locked onto Voss with unsettling focus. No neural augmentation, no reflex enhancement, no genetic optimization beyond what their planet randomly provided. He paused, searching for diplomatic phrasing. "They are a testament to natural selection's sense of humor." Polite laughter rippled through several delegations. Voss didn't move. She'd heard worse during morning PT. "Commander Voss," Krell continued, descending from his platform with heavy footfalls that made the deck plates hum. "Your species operates at a significant biological disadvantage. Your baseline reaction time is 200 milliseconds. 250? He manipulated a holographic display. "My combat implants reduce my response threshold to 12 milliseconds. Do you understand the gap we're discussing?" "I'm familiar with subtraction," Voss replied. "This is not mockery. This is tactical reality." Krell moved closer, towering over her. "The Voidtorn strike faster than unenhanced biology can process. You will see movement. Your brain will begin forming a response, and you will be dead before the signal reaches your muscles. This is not opinion. This is physics." Voss scratched her jaw thoughtfully. "You want to demonstrate?" The room's attention sharpened instantly. The Corines stopped their nervous gill fluttering. Even the karate seemed to focus their crystalline attention forward. Krell's expression radiated satisfaction. "I would not want to risk injuring you. I'll sign a waiver." Krell motioned to a subordinate, who returned with what resembled an oversized crossbow mated with a particle accelerator. "Standard reflex training device. It fires a magnetic bolt at subsonic speeds. Enhanced soldiers practice catching or deflecting the projectile. Unenhanced species typically require 30 to 40 attempts before they can consistently dodge." Voss pushed off the wall and walked to the amphitheater's center. Various delegations watched with morbid curiosity. "How fast?" she asked. 700 meters per second. "I assure you, it's perfectly safe. The bolt is designed to stop before impact if the target fails to respond." "Right." Voss turned her back to him, facing the assembled delegations instead. "Ready when you are." Confusion rippled through the room. A Thren translator squawked. "Commander, you are facing the wrong direction." "Am I?" Krell made a sound that might have been amusement or exasperation. "Commander, this is not a reasonable test. You wanted a demonstration of human reflexes," Voss said, not turning around. "Demonstrate." For a moment, Krell seemed genuinely uncertain. Then his professionalism, or perhaps his pride, kicked in. He raised the weapon, lined up the shot at her back, and fired. The bolt screamed across the amphitheater, a silver streak moving faster than most species could track. Voss's hand moved. Not quickly, not with panic or desperation. Just moved. Her arm came up and back in a smooth arc, fingers already positioned, and she plucked the bolt from the air like someone catching a set of keys. She didn't turn around. Didn't need to, subsonic, huh? Voss rotated the bolt in her hand, examining it. Feels heavier than 700 meters per second. This is a Mark 7 Braxian hypersonic training round. Actual velocity is probably closer to 3,000 meters per second. She finally turned, meeting Krell's three-eyed stare. You swapped the ammunition. The silence in the amphitheater had physical weight, pressing down on everyone present like a collapsing atmosphere. Krell's scales had gone pale. That is impossible. And yet, Voss tossed the bolt to him. He caught it with two hands, purely from reflex, and stared at it like it had personally betrayed him. A Korean scientist shot to her feet, gills flaring wide. Scan her. She must be augmented. There is no biological explanation. We scanned all delegations at arrival. A Thrin security officer interrupted flatly. Standard protocol. The human reads as baseline biology. No implants, no nanotech, no genetic markers for enhancement. Then the scan is faulty. The scan is not faulty, the Thrin replied. Voss walked back to her position against the wall, leaving Krell standing in the amphitheater's center, still holding the bolt, looking like a general who just had his entire tactical doctrine punched in the face. Commander, Krell said slowly, his translator struggling with the tone. How? Voss smiled. It was not a particularly kind smile. Practice. The war room had transformed into something between a scientific inquiry and a witch trial. Voss sat at the center table, surrounded by delegates who had abandoned diplomatic composure entirely. Rushka, the Korean scientist, gestured frantically at holographic displays of human anatomy. The optical nerve latency alone makes this absurd. Light hits the retina, converts to electrical signals, travels to the visual cortex, gets processed, signal sent to motor cortex, then down the spinal column to appropriate muscles. At minimum, we're discussing 150 milliseconds for the absolute fastest baseline biology. She caught a projectile moving at Mach 9 behind her. The mathematics don't work. Perhaps the humans have developed precognitive capability, a Thrin diplomat named Vec suggested, mandibles clicking skeptically. Temporal awareness. We're not psychic, Voss said, examining her fingernails with exaggerated disinterest. Then what? Krell's voice came from the back. He'd been standing there for 20 minutes, all six arms crossed, radiating humiliation and fury equally. You expect us to believe you simply heard the projectile. Didn't say that. The weapon makes minimal sound before firing. My people designed it specifically. I know. Subsonic trigger mechanism, magnetically accelerated payload, minimal acoustic signature until the bolt breaks the sound barrier. Real clever. Voss leaned back, balancing her chair on two legs. You telegraphed the shot. Rushka's gills flattened. Explain. Your breathing changed. Shoulder tensors engaged. Weight shifted to your forward stance. Grip pressure on the weapon increased. Voss shrugged. You might as well have counted down from 3. Part 6. Persistence predators. You are suggesting. Vec spoke carefully, that you processed multiple sensory inputs simultaneously, constructed a predictive model of General Krell's intentions, calculated the projectile's trajectory, and positioned your hand to intercept, all while not looking at him? When you put it that way, it sounds complicated. Because it is complicated. Rushka pulled up neural pathway diagrams. This requires parallel processing across multiple brain regions, Perfect integration of sensory data and motor control with tolerances measured in millimeters. Enhanced species need dedicated neural implants to achieve this. You're telling me you simply can? Most humans can, with training. Some are better at it than others. A younger Vraxian officer raised one hand hesitantly. Commander, what was your training regimen? How many cycles did this take to develop? Voss considered the question. Started when I was 6. 6 cycles old? 6 years old. And it wasn't military. It was recreational. That landed like a bomb. You trained to catch hypersonic projectiles for recreation? Rushka's gills went completely still. Not hypersonic. Just fast. Baseball, softball, cricket, if we could find enough kids who knew the rules. Later on, hockey, lacrosse, competitive fencing. Voss watched them process this. Turns out if you spend your childhood getting things thrown at your head, you get pretty good at not letting them hit you. This is a game? Krell had moved closer. Your species developed these reflexes through games? Through lots of things. Games, sports, survival activities, occupational training. Voss met his gaze evenly. We're a kinesthetic species. We like to move, and we like to get good at moving. The Voitorn arrived at 0-3-40-7 station time, which was inconvenient for everyone except the humans, who apparently woke up angry anyway. One moment, orbital station Tethys was functioning normally. The next, something punched through. The outer hull in 6 places simultaneously, and the screaming started. Voss was already moving before emergency lighting activated, muscle memory dragging her from sleep to combat ready in the time it took most species to remember which limbs they owned. She hit the corridor at a dead sprint, no armor, no weapon. Wearing the tank top and tactical pants she'd slept in because proper paranoia meant always sleeping in something you could fight in. The Voitorn were exactly as advertised. Fast, aggressive, and utterly indifferent to conventional defense. They moved like liquid shadow, with too many teeth and a personal vendetta against geometry. Corrine's security officer stood frozen in the intersection ahead, weapon raised but body locked in decision-making paralysis. A Voitorn materialized behind him, all angles and malice. Voss didn't slow down. She grabbed a fire suppression canister off the wall, twisted the release valve, and threw it in a flat arc that would have made her old softball coach weep with pride. The canister struck the Voitorn mid-lunge, and the chemical foam disrupted its visual processing. It shrieked a sound like tearing metal. Voss drove her elbow into what she hoped was its central mass. The impact felt like hitting frozen tar. The Voitorn scattered into component shadows and reformed 3 meters away, reassessing her threat level. Move! Voss snapped at the Corrine, who finally remembered his legs worked and bolted. The battle lasted 17 minutes. The casualty count could have been catastrophic, but the humans moved through the station like water finding cracks, shoring up defenses, pulling wounded to safety, killing Voitorn with whatever they could grab. A human engineer apparently killed 3 of the things with a welding torch and aggressive optimism. When the Voitorn finally retreated, the station fell into exhausted silence. Voss found Krell in the ruined command center, sitting on debris, staring at his hands. "Commander," he said without looking up, "I need to apologize. For trying to embarrass me with a rigged demonstration? Already forgot about it. Not for that. For fundamentally misunderstanding what your species represents." He finally met her eyes. "I accessed your military records. You are not exceptional by human standards. I mentioned that. I found the human who ranked first in your class. She qualified for deep space reconnaissance because she has perfect spatial memory and can navigate 3-dimensional combat environments without technological assistance." Krell's scales had gone pale again. She learned these skills playing something called parkour in urban environments for recreation. Jamie always was an overachiever. You have been training for combat your entire life without ever calling it training. Most humans have. We just call it living. Voss sat beside him, feeling the 17 minutes of sustained combat in every joint. You wanted to know the difference between your augmentation and our biology? You built yourselves into what you needed to be. We never stopped being what our planet made us prey and predators both. 3 days later, after repairs had begun and diplomatic channels reopened, Voss found a message from Krell. I have begun training without my combat implants. It is deeply uncomfortable. My instructors think I am malfunctioning. I have never felt more alive. Voss smiled, deleted the message, and went to find Lieutenant Martinez. They had a bet running about how long it would take before other species started showing up to human training sessions. Outside the viewport, beyond the repair drones and debris field, Earth hung in the distance, a blue-green sphere that didn't look particularly threatening from this range. But then, the most dangerous things rarely did. Not until they caught something they weren't supposed to be able to catch. Human ingenuity didn't come from enhancement. It came from 10,000 generations of refusing to be prey. The galaxy was just beginning to understand the difference.